coming to you live from the Build for Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network and wherever you are in the free Odyssey app. Good Wednesday morning. Knicks get another win as they slap around a bad team at home again, so that was great to see. We got some football, some interesting football stuff yesterday. I saw a post by Ian O'Connor, who's been covering New York sports for a very long time, saying that Joe Schoen is not going to be 100% the general manager next year, and don't count that as a fact that this could be reevaluated at the end of the season. That was the first time I had seen that after the statement, so that adds a different wrinkle into where the Giants are going. And, of course, Aaron Glenn decides once again to make a press conference about him and Rich Cimini, this time about an injury, when he's, you know what they call that? Misguided anger is what they called that yesterday, where you go, why don't you go ask Rich? Why don't you go ask Rich? You were at the Landman premiere. I want to hear about that as well. Excited for a fun Wednesday. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, Jay. I'm doing great. And I would say that we are in what I would call the aftermath. We're sitting in the aftermath.
The aftermath.
Right. So we often talk about, guys get fired, and this is going to happen for the next 4 or 5 days, I think, and this is normally what happens. This is where the allies of the guy who's fired now start coming forward, and they give their opinions, and their opinions are strong. The opinions are, it's this guy's fault. It's not the guy who got fired fault. They fired the wrong guy. They should have kept the coach. They should have fired the GM. I mean, this is really insane what's going on, and how quickly this has morphed into the aftermath of a firing. And it's great for Brian Daboll because two things. One, I think he's relieved of the stress, and I'm sure he did not want to be fired. I'm sure he wanted to be on that sideline. He never, coaches never want to quit. There are some coaches that do, like Jeff Hafley when he left, Boston College. He was burned out, and that happens. So we all understand that in this world. But in this situation, I don't think that was the case for Brian Daboll. I thought he would want to stay. But in the aftermath, now come the Brian Daboll supporters, and they're coming out with their fangs and with their claws and everything else, and they're going after Joe Schoen and then this is the worst part of human nature. We're witnessing it here. There's the part is the loyalty part towards the coach, which is great. But the angst and the anger at which some of these comments have been delivered towards Joe Schoen probably have led Ian O'Connor to figure out that, you know what, maybe Joe Schoen ain't long for this world either when it comes to Giant football.
Yeah, I'm going to read you the full exact post that he had, Ian O'Connor, yesterday. So he writes, I don't believe Joe Schoen is certain to be the Giants GM next year. They needed someone to get things going on the search, especially with John Mara dealing with his illness. Ownership will make the final call on the coach in January, when I'd expect Joe Schoen to be reviewed again. So the feeling that we had from the statement was like, all right, Joe Schoen's leading the search, and Joe Schoen's going to get an opportunity to hire another coach. We even had a caller yesterday who brought up the pattern in which John Mara has kept a general manager and fired a head coach, and had the GM hire another coach.
We all saw that. It's all over the social media.
Right. Sure. So it was one of those things where we thought that was the deal, but Ian O'Connor saying that, okay, to get rid of everybody right now, especially with John Mara and his unfortunate situation, would just create even more chaos in this building. So let's keep Joe Schoen here, get things going, and then maybe, if Abdul Carter doesn't show up in the second half of the season or something like that, they're given a reason to be like, I don't know if we can go forward with this guy. Then maybe that's a combo deal, just split up, one in season, one after the season. But it is, the aftermath is real, and the aftermath right now, it's as shaky as it's been from every level. So ownership level, general manager level, and head coach level, there is huge uncertainty with this organization.
Because when you make a decision like this, when you go and fire a coach in the middle of the season, now all of a sudden, here come all the opinions from everywhere, I'm not just talking about, media opinions. Media opinions, that's what we talk about. That's what we're here for, is to discuss these things, the possibilities, the probabilities, things of that nature. but internally in the league, like what is being said that we don't hear.
Yeah.
And then when you start seeing you have detractors of Brian Daboll, and then you have supporters of Brian Daboll. You have pretty much a lot of detractors in regards to Joe Schoen. But I think I would think the thought behind what Ian is writing, and there's no reason not to believe what he's writing, because he is obviously an incredible source and he's also impeccable when it comes to his sources and his thoughts and his ideas. So he puts the work in, and somebody we all can respect on this side of it all. I just think that now John and Chris Mara, the Tisch family, they're going to be affected by the outside noise. There's going to be a lot of outside noise. There already has been. There will continue to be. And they're going to start the outside noise is going to delve into the Joe Schoen decision-making. Losing Xavier McKinney for nothing, losing Saquon Barkley for nothing, losing Daniel Jones for nothing. And then those guys going on and playing well where they no longer are like the central figure. Maybe Daniel Jones still is a central figure, but still, they are players who have, blossomed away from here. So that leads me to think it's coaching. But then again, it also leads me to think that it's decision-making by the general manager as to whether or not we're really going to make an attempt to keep the person. Now, I would also say this, and again, I go back to the Luka Doncic thing in Dallas, and they did fire the GM, by the way.
Yeah, I saw Nico Harrison done.
They did fire him.
Yeah.
So I go back to that situation because they were sitting on a decision. Do you pay this guy $345 million, but you know his lifestyle, and his lifestyle does not warrant a $345 million payment if he's not going to change? So they figured he was not going to change. They probably went down the road 3 different ways with his representatives, and then they decided to trade him. And then you see the aftermath of the trade. And the aftermath of the trade has not worked out for Nico Harrison. And all he did basically was go to ownership and say, look, we have this $345 million extension sitting here. Do you want to give this $345 million extension to this player? Now, let me tell you what this player has been doing off the court. Let me tell you what this player looks like on the court. And now, all of a sudden, Luka Doncic decides, because he got scared straight, that he's going to work out in the offseason, and he's going to come back, and he's going to be a beast. And he's going to make the Mavericks look like idiots. But Nico Harrison is now fired because of the aftermath of that trade and the success of Luka Doncic. I could say the same thing can happen here to Joe Schoen.
Yeah, for sure. And really what it was the fact that you made the deal with the Lakers. He wasn't shopped around. You brought in Anthony Davis, who's played in 9 of a possible 44 games that he's been a Dallas Maverick. That right there is the biggest issue with the whole thing. You could trade Luka Doncic and say that this guy's not going to be the face of our organization because he's not taking it seriously, but you can't make that trade.
But when you say, all right, okay, that's fine. That's an add-on part of it. But wouldn't you say, like, Saquon Barkley became the Luka Doncic for the Philadelphia Eagles? Like, he was here, he was hurt. They weren't really getting much. When he was on the field with Daniel Jones, they were good, but the problem is neither one could stay on the field.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the time that this happened because I want to be fair about it. Where the Giants were in their organization, paying a running back at that point when they weren't going to be good to eat up some of the salary cap was not something I would have done. Now, him going to the Eagles right there is a huge possibility. Now, could they have – here's the thing I would have done, though, is I would have traded him at the trade deadline prior to that if you weren't going to sign him, because then you'd have at least an opportunity to say we traded him to this organization. We didn't let him go. He didn't go from here to the Eagles. And if he made the decision to go to the Eagles in the offseason after that, fine. But I did not say at the time, you're nuts for not keeping Saquon Barkley. I understood why they didn't. I just would have traded him before the end of the season if you really weren't planning on paying him.
They're going to get a compensatory pick. They got, a third pick for Xavier McKinney,
it's
I
not
think.
so much
But they would have got more had they traded him before the trade deadline.
And Joe Schoen could say, hey, I traded him to the AFC. And if he signs with the Eagles after that, he signs with the Eagles.
Assuming that there was a trade in place. We don't know that.
But but what we do know is Saquon requested a trade.
Now we know.
Yeah.
Not at the time we didn't.
Yeah, but we know that now, and it happened. So it did. that apparently was the truth. So that's what I would have done at that point. But at the time, I wasn't like, give him big money, because they weren't winning with him, and he had been hurt. And it's like, what really? You're just keeping him around to satisfy the fan base, not to win games. And obviously, he fit better with the Eagles because they're a better team.
And the problem with that, I don't believe the Giants got a compensatory pick for Saquon Barkley, because they signed their own free agents, and those free agents wiped out the loss of Saquon Barkley.
Okay.
So I mean, like, essentially, you got nothing for him.
If that's the case, yeah, it makes it even worse.
And you got nothing for Daniel Jones too.
That for 100%, yes, because you cut him in the middle of the season.
Yeah, because you wanted to do right by him, or ownership wanted to do right by him. Is it the GM? Is it the coach? Is it the owner? Is the owner telling the GM, look, hey, man, we screwed this guy over so many different ways? My thought would have been, look, man, I'm paying you $82 million. You're standing on that sideline, and you're going to be a part of this team whether you're playing or you're not. I would not have done what they did.
Yeah, and I know that he was upset, and that's what he requested was the release. But that's probably more an ownership thing, I would think. That sounds to me like a
but I'm sitting here going, I just gave you $82 million.
Yeah,
not playing well. The coach wants to put somebody else in there. There's something wrong with you. We don't know. You're staying here. You're going to be a part of this team.
Wrong with you?
I mean, physically.
No, I know. It's just funny.
But I mean, so all these decisions now are going to be exposed. They're all going to be talked about, and that could lead ownership to go in a different direction.
Yeah.
When you say, okay, all right, what were his draft picks? What were his decisions? Letting players go, and then you see ex-players that were here under Brian Daboll who loved Brian Daboll as a coach, but who didn't trust Joe Schoen as a GM.
It just hit me. So it's like a game of dominoes with a spotlight. So let me explain this. So when Daniel Jones was here, it was a spotlight right on Daniel Jones. He's the reason why the Giants suck. Okay, Daniel Jones leaves. Then now the spotlight's on Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll's the reason why the Giants suck. Brian Daboll's gone. So now the spotlight has moved over to Joe Schoen because he's still here. It's right on him now, and the heat's on him. So it went from Daniel Jones is the reason why we suck, he's out of here, to Brian Daboll's the reason why we suck, he's out of here, to why the hell's Joe Schoen still here? So now all the energy is being thrown his way. And everybody's going to not manage, but
analyze.
Analyze everything that he's done since he's been here.
Yeah, I mean, and they're going to come up with reasons why he shouldn't be here. They're not looking at reasons why he should be here. They're currently looking at reasons why he shouldn't be here.
Yeah,
and the fan base feels the same way too.
Yeah, because it feels like these guys came here together because they did from the same organization, and now they're no longer a package deal. As we sit here right here today, doesn't mean that couldn't change at the end of the year.
So yesterday I was trying to figure out, since 2007, and I took this seat with Craig Carton, the four major sports leagues we have 2 football teams, 2 baseball teams, 3 hockey teams, and 2 basketball teams. Mm-hmm. I was trying to think how many head coaches and managers have been fired in the 18 years that I have been here.
Yeah, I think CBS Sports Network actually put that together.
They did
not that long ago.
Right. So, but here's the thing.
Yeah, here we go. This is from 2017, though.
Yes,
not 2007.
Not 2007. So I counted. It's somewhere between, I want to say it's somewhere between 43 and 48, either head coaches or managers that have been fired. Obviously, the most stable franchise and the winningest franchise happens to be the Yankees.
Yeah.
2 people, Joe Girardi and Aaron Boone. That's one of the reasons why they win. Now, I know that everybody's screaming and yelling about a World Series. I understand that. Sometimes there's a lackadaisical play here or there, bad base running, bad defense. Yeah, you're all over the manager, but they win. They just consistently win year in and year out. And we all know how hard it is, especially over a 162-game season, or for the Knicks and Nets, for the Rangers, Devils, and Islanders, 82-game seasons.
Yep.
I mean, and it's insane how long these seasons are and what it takes to get through it and come out on the back end and be healthy enough to go for a 4-series, 16-game wins to win a championship in hockey. It's insane. Same thing in basketball.
Yeah, well, I mean, we know that the patience is not there. It's never really been there in pro sports. It's certainly not there today.
That's the same thing with a quarterback too, man.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's just like if you don't get it going in the right direction early. Now, if you think about it, too, like Brian Daboll probably got an extra year or half year because of his first year in winning Coach of the Year and going to the playoffs. He might have been gone if he didn't make the playoffs that first year with 6 wins as opposed to 9 wins. Like, he wouldn't even have made it to this year. So it's just these guys, if they don't prove themselves immediately, they end up being gone 2 years later. I mean, look at the Giants. The Brian Daboll tenure was longer than the previous 3.
And that's because they went to the playoffs that first year.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question about that. But again, like, so much has to go right. So many guys have got to stay healthy. And I look, we can sit here and list all the best players for the Giants have missed significant time. Mm-hmm. And now it's Malik Neighbors. 1 year it's Saquon Barkley. The next year it's Malik Neighbors. The next year it's Andrew Thomas. I mean, it's a reoccurring theme with them. And I could also say the same thing for the Jets.
Well, I mean, same thing for the 49ers, too. But somehow they are able to keep it together. You know, it's a lot of teams deal with a lot of injuries. They're not 2-7, 2-8 every single year. You know? I mean,
yeah,
the NFL's
I guess
filled with injuries.
I know. I guess it's really they got lucky getting Brock Purdy. They certainly got lucky. So the 3-year run of Brock Purdy was pretty damn good, and nobody ever expected that. They thought it was going to be Trey Lance.
Yeah.
I mean, they knew immediately that Trey Lance is not the guy. We're getting rid of him.
Yeah, which means that every single quarterback that has gone through that program there with Kyle Shanahan has had a modicum of success, if not a lot of success, and Trey Lance got traded to a conference rival. Just shows you what Kyle Shanahan thought of that guy.
You know, the amazing thing is that you remember we had the great thick sumbitch Phil Simms in here, and we were talking about quarterbacks in that draft, and Trey Lance, I think, went first in that draft. Did he go first? Second in that draft. That's the draft that Mac Jones went 15th to New England. And I remember Phil Simms saying, man, Kyle Shanahan loves him some Mac Jones. Kyle Shanahan loves him some Mac Jones. And then out of the blue, somebody in that building decided to do Trey Lance over Mac Jones.
It was 3rd overall pick for Trey Lance.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Did I not say that?
You said first. I think.
No. I said third.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Was he the first quarterback taken?
No, because I think it wasn't that the Zach Wilson draft? It was the 2021 NFL draft. That I think was Trevor Lawrence, right?
I think it was.
So it was Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and then So no. So it was Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, then Trey Lance.
Right, and Phil Simms said, "Oh man, Kyle Shanahan loves him some Mac Jones." You know, Mac Jones goes to the Patriots. Josh McDaniels is there. His first year, he could have won Rookie of the Year, but Jamar Chase ended up beating him out at the end. But he played all 16 games, played great, and you really thought that the sky was the limit for Mac Jones in New England. And then Josh McDaniels leaves to go to the Raiders, and then look what's left behind to try to coach him. And it never worked. But now Kyle Shanahan's got his hands on Mac Jones, and he's played brilliantly.
Yeah. Well, this is what I think about when you say they got lucky with Brock Purdy. Did they get lucky with Brock Purdy, or did Brock Purdy end up in the absolute perfect situation? He had the right personality and makeup to make it in the NFL.
And plus, Trey Lance got hurt that year. You remember he got hurt in Chicago.
Like, I feel the same way about a lot of these guys because we're seeing it. You know, some guys end up in terrible situations and can't succeed. And some guys end up in great situations and then max out their ability. Because
the biggest mistake I see, and maybe there's probably a few others, but what I'm thinking about in today's NFL, the biggest mistake was the Browns getting rid of Baker Mayfield. Now they got rid of him for whatever reason. There are other reasons other than on the field play, because on the field play, you could see that he's the competitive quarterback. He's the competitive type. In your face, I'm going to run with the ball. I'm going to throw the ball. It's going to be a little helter-skelter from every now and again. But, he had to grow up a little bit, and that's exactly what he did, and that's what Tampa has now. They have basically a flame-throwing lunatic as a quarterback.
Yep.
And he's great. He's fun to watch, and he would have been perfect had the Jets decided to go after him. You know what I mean? I think he would have been perfect for the Jets. But that's after the fact now. But the point being is that, we have no patience. New York has no patience. No patience to allow a guy to develop. The coaches know this. Everybody knows this here. The ownership feels it. The fan voices are loud. all the fan bases know how to get to the ownership. All the sponsorships know how to get to the ownership. I mean, they just make these owners make decisions, rash decisions, in my mind, just simply because of the stress and pressure that they feel when it comes to losing.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk more about it. We have to take a break here, but I do think that, I mean, Daniel Jones, that was not a rash decision. He was here for a long time, and he had dealt with a lot of injuries. I don't think that Zach Wilson was a rash decision. I think they gave him a lot of opportunities.
Well, he's not playing anywhere.
And he was just bad, and now he's gone, and he's just bad. You know, maybe Sam Darnold, you can say that was a bit of a rash thing. Yeah, but these other coaches that have come through here, like, I mean, was firing Joe Judge a rash thing, or was that a terrible hire? Was firing Pat Shurmur a rash thing, or was that a terrible hire? Adam Gase, terrible hire. You know, so some of these things are just
But it just
bad.
goes to show you how difficult these jobs are here in New York for all the reasons that we've been talking about. And that's why to button it up right here until the next segment, that's why I think Aaron Glenn is the way he is. I think he is trying his damnedest to get out in front of it and make it about him. You know what I mean? And he is picking fights, which he doesn't need to pick, but he's picking fights because I think he is trying to direct whatever storyline, or you want to call it narrative, I'll call it storyline, that he wants to create to try to button up that building. And I think that I feel like that's working. I know I don't necessarily agree.
How?
Well, did you know that they were going to even think about trading these players? Did we hear anything about these trades? And then you find out that Sauce Gardner and Darren Muji and Chris Ballard agreed to the Sauce Gardner trade the morning of the Nick Mangold funeral.
Yeah.
And they didn't let it out. And thanks to Chris Ballard for doing that and Darren Muji for thinking that way, because, you know, you don't want to in any way, shape, or form impact a funeral of that significance.
All right, let's get to a break, and we'll get Jerry in here in just a couple of minutes. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network.